If you're anything like me, you've got a lot on your plate all the time. I make one of these video essays every month. I stream several days a week on Twitch. Oh my god. I work a minimum wage day job, and I have 2 partners. A lot of my friends have asked me how I do it, how I find the time for all of that. How do I have the energy to juggle all of those different things? And here's my secret. I don't. I'm exhausted. As someone who has always been driven and goal-oriented to a fault, letting myself relax, like really relax and recuperate, just doesn't come naturally to me. It leads to some really unhealthy habits, stubbornness, and creative burnout. I cannot tell you the last time I had a vacation. Like a real vacation that I didn't co-opt into some excuse to get some more work done. Get up early to do a little editing on the side. Take some time on my day off to finalize a YouTube script or plan out an event stream. The hashtag grindset mindset is one of the most toxic and dangerous mentalities fed to us by the modern day snake oil salesmen of social media. But I've started to unlearn some of these bad habits recently, and a game that's actually been really helpful for that has been From Software's Elden Ring. So this is how Elden Ring taught me to take breaks. Before we get into the video essay, I just wanted to jump in here and remind you to subscribe and like the video for more content like this every single month. It's free and really helps the channel grow. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, modern society is built on the fundamentals of capitalism. And after years of art and media telling us that taking breaks is frivolous, that leisure is a sign of laziness, that rest is a sign of privilege, it's become really easy to just keep running on life's treadmill, where respite is a rare exception throughout our lives. And doing what we love isn't the norm. But as far back as I can remember, I've always loved the creative process. Brainstorming, filming, editing, all of it. So eventually I went to school for that. Got my degree, and freelanced on the side while working a day job to hopefully make a life where I could create films, documentaries, and edit client work full time. But I'm still working that day job. Someday I would love to be a creative full time, but to make that dream a reality, it'll take a lot of elbow grease, honing my craft, creating meaningful work, putting in the time to build that platform for myself. Maybe a few sacrifices here and there. And being motivated towards a goal certainly isn't a bad thing. But when you're trying to make a path for yourself through freelancing or content creation, or anything that doesn't have a safe and predetermined path, everything is uncertain. All of your success is dependent on consistency and other people giving you a chance. Possibly even a robotic, omnipotent algorithm. So taking even a moment to lift your foot off the gas can be terrifying, even if you're on the verge or well past the point of burnout. It sounds so obvious. Just take a break when you need one. But when my own anxiety paralyzes me by whispering, if you take that break, you'll lose that momentum you've been building up, giving myself time to recharge, no matter how tired I am, can feel like a daunting impossibility. And when I've been fed this wake up and grind snake oil all my adult life, it's really easy to tell myself that I'll take a few days off when things are more stable. This next video could be the one that blows up. One more paycheck, one more stream, one more shift, one more client, one more try. Just one more, and then I'll take that break. But that's the insidious reality. There's always one more. And who knows? After I come back from a break, everything I've spent years building for myself might not be there anymore. Elden Ring is rife with things to make video essays about. Its ingenious open world design, the lore, of course, the themes of duality, and the unwavering brutality that is Caelid. But I haven't seen any talk about how the most ambitious title out of From Software, a studio known for making maddeningly tough action RPGs, feels like it's diametrically opposed to all of its predecessors. Elden Ring seems to discourage player stubbornness, opting instead to center its core principles around the zen of taking a step back. I noticed that throughout my time exploring the lands between, I was a lot less frustrated than I was when I played FromSoft's other titles. As much as I loved playing Dark Souls and Bloodborne, there were a lot of roadblocks that made me feel like I had to chip away at a sturdy brick wall to get anywhere. To play a Soulsborne title was to exercise obstinance. I either found a way to beat this boss standing between me and progress, or nothing. I vividly remember charging into that Father Gascoigne fight over and over and over again just to be demolished. Bloodborne being my introduction to this developer's catalog was quite the experience. The rush of dopamine and adrenaline that coursed through me every time I felled an enemy after countless attempts was addicting. So after creating my new Elden Ring character, I was filled with what turned out to be misplaced confidence. Oh, perfect, these golden arrows are giving me an idea of where I should be going. So I followed, fought a few enemies, ran past others, leveled up, and got some early game weapons. Then I met the game's first real boss. And after having played through a lot of this developer's catalog, I knew this first boss was going to test me. So I braced myself for Margit the Fell Omen, and every time I strode through that golden mist, I got absolutely slaughtered within seconds. I thought I'd memorized his pattern, seeing an opening, only to find his string of combos had changed. Dodging also became a problem, with this strip of an arena featuring plenty of obstacles to get stuck on and deadly cliffs to fall off of, all of which Margit seemed to have no problem avoiding. I really thought I was going to go in there and, after a few tries, find a hack to beating him and make my way into that beautiful castle. But the Fell Omen himself really girl-boss gatekept and gaslit me into thinking I was crazy. As a Dark Souls fan, I had been conditioned to just try harder, to be bullheaded and just get good. I died again and again and again, and I began to really hate this game. How the hell was I, or anyone else for that matter, supposed to beat this boss within an hour or two of creating a character? Well, I wasn't. No one is. That's the thing about Elden Ring. This isn't just another Soulsborne. It's an open world game. So you're never really stuck. You can always go off and explore, try a different path, or go experiment with a new weapon. The only real roadblock in Elden Ring is you. But if you know anything about me, you know I'm incredibly headstrong. When it comes to video games, doubly so. Because the difficulty spikes can be so jaw-droppingly steep, and the AI for many plot-relevant boss fights are so adaptive to your techniques, it feels like FromSoft, more than ever before, is trying to beat that stubbornness out of you and telling you to take a step back. Don't rush this. You're not ready yet, and that's okay. But after grinding this fight and trying to figure out the patterns and strategies of my multi-armed nemesis, I was just mad. upset at a video game. I was burnt out and ready to uninstall Elden Ring. I thought after all this time, I would have gotten somewhere, made some sort of dent, and I could see myself just getting worse and worse with each subsequent attempt. I was fed up. So uncharacteristically, I decided to go explore the open world. If you've seen any of my other video essays on the topic, you'll know that I normally don't care for open world games. But in Elden Ring's case, the vast stretches of the lands between feel purposeful, with every new discovery I made preparing me in some small way to conquer those aggressive spikes in difficulty, rather than just being a list of filler activities to pad out playtime. Plus, the map doesn't really hold your hand, making this all feel like real exploration too. Elden Ring is a masterclass in incentivizing a player to take a break, to put a pin in something and come back later, galvanized and ready. While you could grind your way through each of the game's main challenges if you really wanted to, FromSoft makes taking a break worth your time. Every diversion you can engage with rewards you with something meaningful, not just a little collectible here and there. Each enemy encampment has a new piece of equipment that might synergize with your build. Each little nook and cranny of the world might give you a new talisman to try out, switching things up quite a bit. There was almost never a time that I explored somewhere and came back empty-handed. A pretty direct example of this in the early game happens here in this unassuming cave. A few hours into my exploration of Limgrave, putting off attempting that Margit fight again, I had already found a handful of weapons and armor sets. So I was curious what else this area might be hiding from me. And that's when my curiosity led me to this familiar voice, echoing from above me.
Yourself to a man's personal belongings, huh?
Patches, my nemesis from countless FromSoft multiverses. So as soon as he smugly leapt off that ledge, I exacted my revenge. And in the carnage, I found a bell bearing, an item that gave me access to, among other things, Margit's shackle? Wait, Margit's shackle? Yeah. My thorough exploration led me to an item that very directly checks Margit's overwhelming strength this early in the game. This shackle allows a player to, twice during Margit's battle, stun him and leave him wide open to a devastating combo, even interrupting a string of infamously unpredictable attacks. Finding a hard counter like this to the Fall Omen showed me that my time away from this Sisyphean boulder of a boss fight would not only net me some mental clarity, but in-game advantages as well. And if you do take your time to explore, there are quite a few secret paths to circumvent a lot of what the game presents as roadblocks. So if you want to explore the Liurnia of the Lake section of Elden Ring without meeting Margit first, you actually can. Tucked away along the side of Stormvale Castle is this little footpath. If you're not paying attention, it's really easy to miss. But with a perceptive eye and a little legwork, now Liurnia of the Lakes is yours to explore. In fact, you don't even need both halves of the Dectus Medallion to travel up to the Atlas Plateau. There's a cobbled together passage up the side of these monumental cliffs made of caves and rickety ladders. Of course, there's plenty of danger along the way, but this is yet another reward for taking a break from the perceived right path. And while I pulled myself away from the temptation of repeated failure, of Soulsbornian masochism, there were also these brief moments of respite, scenic views, sprawling visual operas, intricately poetic harmonies. These little pockets of calm within the world's chaos. If you blink, you'll miss them. And they made the time I spent in the lands between feel so alive. There's usually no in-game incentives to finding these moments either. No runes or special items. They're not marked on your map. But they still, somehow, helped me gather my resolve to push forward. When everything in a video game is pedal to the metal action constantly, what's meant to be excitement almost always becomes white noise. There's a certain magic to moments of silence in otherwise high-octane games. Games that make your palms sweat, gripping your controller so tight that your knuckles go white with tension, and then let you just chill. They let you collect yourself and recharge before diving back into some combat, making both parts of the equation feel vital to the experience. And the perfect balance between zen and hostility can be on a razor's edge. Even some of the most prolific video game devs have a hard time finding that balance. Too much action and I become desensitized to it. Too much relaxing and my eyes start to glaze over in boredom. It's why safe rooms are such a staple in survival horror games. Without them, you'd just feel constantly tense until that feeling meant nothing anymore. And Elden Ring continues the FromSoft tradition of actually seeing your character resting at these points of safety that dot the game's landscape. It's a subtle detail that's surprisingly rare in a lot of games, which opt for a "this will do" menu screen in a blank void. When I'm really invested in my time with a game, it feels like when the protagonist gets a moment to rest, I get a chance to exhale too. During these vibe checks and safe rooms, it's really easy to just sit back and take in what you've been through so far, to reflect on the game and steel yourself for the next section. They can be make or break moments in a lot of games, and often what sticks in your memory long past rolling credits. If you've played a lot of indie survival horror or Souls-like titles, it's really easy to tell when a dev understands the importance of these moments and when they don't. So even when Elden Ring is predominantly about the action-packed stretches of gameplay and boss fights, they're supported by these surprisingly relaxing moments. I'll always remember my first time stumbling into the blissful serenity of... Nothing of note down here, really. No secret item or hidden monsters waiting for a gotcha moment. It's just a cute escape from the rest of the lands between. And that's what makes it so memorable. My first video essay on YouTube was all about why it seemed like every video game had a fishing mechanic in it. If you haven't watched it, I basically chalk it up to a simple way to keep players engaged with similar design concepts to gambling or a gacha game without the predatory business practices. And it panders to the completionist in a lot of us. While I still stand by what I said in that video, what I didn't take into account was the value of just taking a second. And just like real-world angling, fishing minigames can be a low-stakes distraction while taking a break from the rest of the game, especially when they're more in-depth than your standard wait and bait. Enjoy the world around you in a moment of relaxation and add another specimen to your collection. And this added value seems to be catching on with Skyrim's Anniversary Edition and games like Sable adding the feature in later content updates as well. Now there's even entire games built around the idea of the fishing minigame, Dredge being a great example of how you can make fishing the focus of a game while not compromising on great storytelling. After playing through a ton of fishing experiences for that first video essay, and even more after that, I think I finally understand the appeal. It can be a quick diversion or a mental reset rather than just a time waster, especially in games where it felt like casting my rod was so opposed to the action of the rest of the game. When games force you to take a break from the action though, it can feel like a buzzkill and can sometimes ruin the pacing of the experience overall. But when the player is the one who decides to take a break and go fishing, it can feel a lot more like a peaceful retreat, rather than a mandated timeout of sorts. Having agency over when you take your breaks allows your brain to recharge, to get some clarity, and gather yourself when you need to. But when breaks from the action are forced on us, it can often just feel like a frustrating interruption. I want to continue the story I'm invested in, rather than beat up a random group of thugs on a rooftop again. So, I never thought I would say this, but I hope that upcoming Elden Ring DLC has a fishing mechanic. So, after I took a break from Margit to go explore the surrounding hills of Limgrave, making friends with the ashes of a jellyfish that I named Jeffrey, and taking in the unexpected beauty of this ethereal world, I went back to face this gatekeeping bastard, with new tricks up my sleeve. Better armor, upgraded flasks, and much more formidable weapons, and of course, some healthy grinding under my belt. It was still no cakewalk by any means, but I could see my combos land, carving out sizable chunks of that daunting health bar, and after a handful of attempts, Margit was no more. That familiar rush of dopamine flooded my brain. After some time away, it felt like everything in the fight just clicked. And I realized I needed to do the same in real life too. So if you've been following this channel for a while, you may have noticed I didn't post a video essay last month. After almost 2 years of posting video essays on the first Saturday of every month, I took a break. Like a real break. After spending so much time watching video essays and wanting to produce some of my own, but not really having the time, in 2021, I decided it might be time to dive in. I mean, I had just graduated film school in the middle of the pandemic, and I hadn't had any production companies looking to hire an editor. So to keep my editing muscles trained, I thought, why not make a video about why it seems like every modern video game includes a fishing mechanic? So I dove into the research, gathered footage, recorded a voiceover, and put out my first video essay. And I gotta say, that video did way better than I expected, even catching the attention of some of the folks that I had been watching for years. Almost immediately after uploading that video essay, I stepped onto the treadmill of the YouTube algorithm. Because many of the creators that I looked up to had a monthly upload schedule, so that's what I committed to. And 20-something video essays later, I've never missed an upload. First Saturday of the month, 11 a.m. PST, always, no matter what. And I'll admit, that consistent schedule has been helpful for keeping me on track and not losing focus. The YouTube powers that be have even measurably rewarded me for picking a schedule and sticking to it. Never missing an upload, never stopping, and never taking a break. After all, if people know when and where to look for you, they'll come back. Humans are hardwired to like routines, and so are algorithms. But lately, I've felt burnt out creatively. Although I've put out videos that I'm incredibly proud of, I have never felt more exhausted. So when I finally gave myself a chance to step back last month, to not work on a May upload, to take 3 weeks away from streaming on Twitch, and to cash in some of those untouched vacation hours at my day job, creatively, I've never felt more motivated than after that break. Hopefully, you notice how much more effort I'm able to put into the editing of this video, for example. How much more time I had to make all the little details sing, or maybe not. And that's okay too. Maybe it's things that only I notice, but giving myself that time to just breathe, exist, and live as a human being, rather than chaining myself to an arbitrary posting schedule, really renewed my focus on what I want out of life and why I started doing all of this in the first place. After playing so much of From Software's output over the years, I can't believe it took me until Elden Ring to realize you can only level up after taking a moment to rest. Living in a post-2020 world where we're all too aware of our mortality, it's really easy to talk ourselves into making the most out of every second, maximizing the time that we've got left. If you're like me and you turn every hobby into a business, transforming pastimes into professions, if you make more to-do lists than you make time for yourself, if you're working towards making your dreams a future reality, but you don't take the time to exist in the present, I have some news for you. That's not sustainable for anyone. At least, not in the long term. Life isn't punctuated by boss fights or bonfires. We have to take the time to seek out our moments of rejuvenation. Right now, in the present. We can't keep chugging away in hopes of finding the time for ourselves. Sometimes, even during our busiest moments, we have to grab life by the reins, give them a tug, and make the time. Use those vacation hours. Treat yourself to some you time. Because we're all gonna die sooner than we'd like. And are you really going to look back at your life and say, I should have put more pressure on myself. I wish I stressed more. Take a break. Breathe. Live. Hey there, thank you for watching the video essay. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to give the video a like down below and subscribe to the channel. It really helps the video reach more people, and because I put over 40+ hours into these video essays every single month, I would super appreciate it. Speaking of helping out, these videos are not cheap to produce, so if you believe in the content and want to see me do this full time, you can always support over on my Ko-fi page. And if you don't know what Ko-fi is, it's basically like Patreon, but a lot cooler. A huge thank you to my monthly supporters over on that Ko-fi page: Voxamandius, Puzzled Monkey Tree, Mumpow, Dear Papaya, Oyster Milk, Nightmare God, Bean Fiello, Veltwalker, Cap Danvers, Robertson, Comrade Quest, Max Wattage, CatDog 3000, Lion Bite, Sarah, and John Lax. For as little as $4 a month, you can also become a monthly supporter over on that Ko-fi page, and you'll get shoutouts at the end here, sneak peeks at future video essays, and some behind the scenes content. Also, if you want to check out any of the games that I mention in any of my video essays, there are always affiliate links in the description down below. They help the channel and trans charities at the same time, and sometimes they have sales that Steam doesn't even have, so it's worth checking out. Anyway, thank you so much again for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and oh yeah, go share the video!